There's a reason certain wartime methods never appeared in field manuals, training films, or post-war memoirs. Some techniques were so effective, so quietly essential to staying alive under brutal conditions, that commanders didn't want enemy forces, or even untrained personnel, misusing them. These weren't dramatic Hollywood tactics. They were precise, reliable survival systems designed by soldiers, scouts, engineers, and frontline medics who cared more about staying alive than appearing heroic. And today, long after the guns have gone silent, these overlooked techniques still hold enormous value for anyone interested in practical preparedness. Before we dive in, understand why these methods mattered. In World War II, surviving wasn't only about firepower, it was about adapting faster and smarter than the terrain and the temperature. Soldiers had to learn to stay warm with minimal fuel, navigate with no visibility, ration supplies creatively, and avoid giving away their position with even the smallest signal. These tricks made the difference between a unit lasting 3 days or 3 months. And for those of us who study history as a tool rather than a story, every one of these techniques still matters today. So let's get into the 10 survival methods that prove so powerful they were intentionally kept quiet. The first method is the silent heat shelter principle that scouts used in frozen regions. Rather than build fires that exposed units to enemy spotters, trained scouts dug small triangular pits lined with green branches and covered them with a mix of soil and brush. A tiny ember-based fire would heat the cavity beneath the shelter floor without creating visible smoke. The concept works today by creating a subfloor fire cavity that channels heat upward into a sleeping area while keeping flame visibility low. If you're camping off-grid or dealing with a blackout and need discrete heat, you can dig a shallow chamber, lay flat rocks over it, and create a warm platform without letting flame or smoke expose your location. The second method is the emergency fat-wick lamp technique used by supply line troops. When fuel ran low, soldiers melted animal fat or saved grease from rations and placed a twisted cloth wick into a metal lid. This created a stable, long-burning light and heat source used in trenches, field offices, and command dugouts. You can replicate this easily using cooking grease, a small cotton strip, and a metal tin. It burns far longer than a candle and gives off enough warmth to keep a small enclosed space survivable. The third method is the breath cycling trick, used to prevent frostbite when soldiers were immobilized. Rather than breathing into their hands or scarves, which filled fabric with moisture and accelerated freezing, experienced troops exhaled sideways, venting warm air away from the torso. This simple method reduced moisture build-up in clothing, one of the leading causes of cold injury. Applying this today is straightforward. Avoid warming your hands with your breath, and never breathe directly into your jacket or gloves during cold weather. Moisture is the enemy of insulation, and World War II soldiers learned this the hard way. The fourth method is the trench-odd ration rotation that medics enforced. Instead of eating all high-calorie items early, trained medics taught soldiers to save 1 or 2 calorie-dense components for the hours before sleep. This slowed overnight body heat loss and reduced early morning hypothermia. You can use the same principle by eating a dense, slow-burning food, like nuts, a fat-heavy bar or hard cheese, right before bedding down in cold conditions. The fifth method is the fireless cooking trick that helped units avoid detection. Soldiers placed grains, dried vegetables or beans in canteens with boiling water early in the day, sealed them tightly and allowed them to slow cook using only retained heat. The food cooked while they marched. This method still works in a modern thermos. Pour boiling water over rice, oats, dried potatoes or legumes, seal it, and let time do the cooking without flame or fuel. The sixth method is the cloth hardening technique used for emergency armour. In certain fronts, soldiers soaked layers of cloth in animal glue or starch, dried them, and used them as improvised shrapnel barriers behind sandbags. While it wasn't bulletproof, it significantly reduced fragmentation injuries. Today, this can be applied in emergency shelters by using hardened fabric panels as blast splinter protection around sleeping areas if storms, debris or structural risk is present. The seventh method is the night-blind navigation trick that scouts mastered. Instead of relying on moonlight, they followed terrain lines by running their fingers along natural edges, fence wire, tree bark, shallow ditch lines, while counting their steps and keeping the terrain's gradient under their feet. Practicing this today sharpens spatial awareness and teaches you how to move safely without a light source. For blackout scenarios or smoke-heavy environments, the principle remains invaluable. The eighth method is the fire scent masking strategy used by forward observers. Soldiers burned a handful of damp soil or green needles over their coals once cooking was finished. This produced a neutral, earthy smell that blended with forest ground cover and reduced the signature scent of food or smoke. In practical terms, if you're cooking outdoors and want to reduce scent spread, whether for wildlife or privacy, finish the cooking, then depress the fire slightly and burn a small amount of fresh earth or wet leaves to neutralize the smell. The ninth method is the garment heat-trapping fold that mountain troops relied on. By tucking their undershirts into their pants and folding the waist inward, they created a sealed pocket that prevented rising body heat from escaping. This added several degrees of warmth without adding any layers. You can use this today with any base layer to instantly improve insulation. The 10th method is the emergency water clarification trick used by recon troops. Soldiers filled a sock with clean sand, charcoal from a burned stick, and a thin layer of cloth, then poured water through it before boiling. This simple gravity filter removed sediment and improved the taste of water enough to make boiling more effective. You can replicate this using a cotton cloth, clean sand and charcoal. Run the water through, collect it, then boil it for safety. These methods weren't superstition or improvisation from panic. They were refined techniques passed quietly among units because they worked. They helped soldiers endure cold, hunger, exhaustion, and harsh terrain with minimal resources. And when you understand them, you gain more than historical insight. You gain real, functional skills grounded in proven experience. If you found value in this breakdown, subscribe to The Prepper Historian and share this guide with someone who loves serious history with real-world application.